From a potential government shutdown, and Democrats say they will not be intimidated by the latest threat. The White House Budget Office sent a memo telling federal agencies to prepare for mass firings if a funding deal is not reached. Typically, government workers head back to work once the deal is done. And as Republican leaders push a plan that would extend funding through November 20th, Democrats are demanding, among other things, an extension to Obamacare subsidies, which expire at the end of the year. Without those subsidies, health care premiums would skyrocket for many people. Joining us now is Republican Congressman Dan Muser of Pennsylvania. He sits on the Financial Services and Small Business Committees. Sir, thanks for being with us. As I said, we're just a few days out from this potential shutdown. Should the president be talking to Democratic leaders in Congress? This meeting was canceled by the White House.
Well, yes. Jeffries and Schumer demanded the meeting. The president acquiesced, but then he learned of what their demands were, and the demands were, frankly, Brianna, nonsensical. It was a retraction of some of the most important provisions in the OBB, the big, beautiful bill. They were looking to actually cause spending increases of nearly $1.4 trillion. They wanted to remove the Medicaid restrictions on illegals and the work requirements and those who are ineligible. So their demands were nonsensical. They also said no future rescissions, which basically means no more reduction in costs, in spending. So, but then since, and let me finish, please, there was such nonsensical demands, they then added this about the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, which we as Republicans, I as a member of Congress, care a lot about. But this isn't a situation until December 31st. Now, granted, things move quickly, but there was no reason for this to take place now and determine whether or not we were shutting down the government or not. And by the way, the ACA needs a little bit of auditing, a little bit of improving. I'm not saying we're gonna throw it out, but as of right now, with the way they did it with the Inflation Reduction Act, people over $500,000 are receiving subsidies from the ACA. So it needs some reforms, and they're using this as an excuse to somehow shut down the government.
But it's not really an issue December 31st, right? Because, that's when that's the seam for insurance, but open enrollment is in November. So isn't it much sooner?
Well, look, even if that's the case, okay, the fact
that
that
is the case. That's just a standard thing, right? That's for everyone's aware they do insurance open enrollments in November. So let me walk people through what you're talking about here, because that's the enhanced
Brianna,
affordable.
Did not come up during
hold on,
the
let me.
I
let you talk for a really long time. So let me just explain to viewers what we're talking about, because it's not so clear. The enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year. Half of the people who get their insurance on the individual market, mostly through these ACA marketplaces, are actually connected to small businesses. So we're talking about small business owners, self-employed Americans. That's according to the Kaiser Family Foundation. You, of course, care a lot about this. You're on the Small Business Committee. So when you are looking at that, and you know that open enrollment is actually in November, right? So even if your insurance is up at the end of the year, you actually have to have this settled a lot sooner. Aren't you concerned about getting that addressed really soon here?
They're looking to make those extensions that were made under the Inflation Reduction Act permanent. They were only set to be temporary for good reason, because we were in COVID. I'm on the Problem Solvers Caucus. This only came up about a week ago, asking me to sign on to it. And I said, I will, if we can make some adjustments to the high-end earners receiving the subsidies. And by the way, there's something else. Over 1/3 of the recipients of the ACA did not cause any expenses, did not have any care given, yet the federal government paid the insurance companies nearly 33% more for not performing any services. So some tweaks and corrections need to be made. We can do that. But again, back to my point, this never came up in the budget discussions. They had those initial demands, and then they added these because the others were nonsensical, and this can create a buzz throughout their base and throughout the media. We can fix this. We can do this after we complete the budget.
Are some of those high-end earners? Are some of those high-end earners small businesses?
Absolutely. Okay, so that's true. So that could fall within it, but some of them aren't. And there's in the neighborhood, we have numbers of about $2 or $3 billion a year for those type of subsidies taking place. Now, granted, in the grand scheme of things, two or three billion
how many
is not
are
that
we
much.
just
But why not
Congressman,
fix
how many
it when
people
we can?
how many people are we talking about? I mean, if you're talking about people who are, earning oodles of dollars, and how many are we talking about that are small businesses? Because when we look at the numbers, a lot of it is small business owners. So it might obviously look like a lot of money, but on paper it's their small business, right? Which Republicans always talk about.
Well, Democrats talk about the idea of compromising now. Certainly that wasn't the case for the last 4 years. So why can't we have an ACA discussion, talk about some finding common ground? Because 90% of it is common ground, but the rest of it are corrective measures that should be done. Why would we be paying 33% of taxpayers' money to insurance companies?